is Stanley Dow Scott, the founder and president of the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank. Welcome to the Doc Show. Once again, we're having our ongoing discussion with Niki Brunson, candidate for City Council, District 7. Yeah, I'm happy to have you once again. We're here at the Jacksonville Gullah Geechee Nation Community Development Corporation in their office. We want to thank them for allowing us to use their office to have this discussion. Niki, tonight I want to talk to you about leadership, effective leadership, your definition of leadership, and what kind of leader you would be. We'll start out first with defining leadership, what you think your perception of leadership is.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back. I appreciate you keeping the conversation going. My definition of leadership, on a local level, in communities that face the urban blight that our communities face in District 7, we need compassionate leadership, we need engaged leadership. We need a leader that is willing to come and find people, to make connections with the people, to reach out to citizenry instead of sitting in the City Hall office waiting for phone calls or waiting to see which citizens have issues that are engaged enough. It requires more attention. Our situation is in very much dire need. Our citizens are in dire need. We've got citizenry that is suffering from pervasive poverty, under poverty, astronomical infant mortality rates in certain pockets of District 7. And there are also phenomenal things that are going on in District 7. We've got a new form of energy coming into the district in the form of liquid propane or liquid natural gas. I apologize for that. Right. Eastport is developing. There's talk about dredging. We're either for it or against it. And there are pros and cons on both sides of that argument. We still have pending pension issues, and for the last 40 years, we have been represented by leadership that have withdrawn themselves from our citizenry. And even when we reach out to them, we're not always certain that we're getting proper information. So it's time for us to resurface a level of integrity with our leadership, and leadership needs to be willing to hold themselves accountable as they ask for citizen engagement, because the citizens don't deserve to be deceived any further.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's being recorded here in Jacksonville, Florida. Niki Brunson, candidate for City Council, District 7. Now, I have a quick question here. You, the mayor, first time African American mayor.
Yes, correct. We're very proud of that.
And the representative, past representative for District 7,
Johnny Gaffney, who is putting in a bid for state representation now.
Now, both of them are African Americans, correct?
They are.
Now, the question, most of your constituents, are they African American?
Predominantly. We have about 57% of our citizenry is African American. But we also have 50+1 property.
Right. So, as far as you can remember, how long have you had African Americans over that district?
Oh, the historic East Side has always historically been an African American settlement since the founding of Jacksonville.
In your representation?
Sir?
In your representation, has he always been African American?
In my lifetime, our representation has been African American. So I would say 40 years of me paying attention, we've had African American leadership.
Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about being effective then. Do you feel that there have been effective leadership in your community since that period of time? 40 years, we can say 20 years, we can say 10 years, whatever that period where you think they have been effective leadership in your community.
Quality of life index is very important. If you're not enjoying this opportunity to exist on this earth at this time, then what's the point? And our quality of life index in Jacksonville has fallen over the last 40 years of representation for District 7, historic District 7 residents. As far as education is concerned, our education lows have been 53% for African American males, 54% for African American females. And this is as recent as 2012. We were at an all-time low in the 90s at 78% dropout rate for African American males, and that was considered a crisis situation, which it was. Education is imperative. It reaches into every other aspect of our life.
Yeah.
Unemployment rates are considerably higher in some sections of District 7. Health Zone 1 has reported at times 66% and currently right around 55–57% unemployment. So we are literally have a citizenry where 1 out of 3 people is maintaining a household for 10.
Okay, and that's good. You're very good with your numbers, and you're correct. But my point here is when you come to the common person here, what is stopping that community from growing, since you have had African American leadership in that district? What have kept that from growing? Why the leadership has not been active in the community? All those leaders who have come through there.
I apologize for cutting you off. I guess I would start my response by saying apathy. And then I'll go on and fill the blank with apathetic voters and apathetic leadership. It seems that since we won't go to the polls, the current leadership that we have is not interested in our voice, and our issues are not coming to the forefront unless there is some there's a profit. So for the last 40 years, the East Side and Health Zone 1 have been kind enough to Jacksonville to host 50% +1 poverty, and those numbers have been capitalized on for federal assistance and state assistance, and then that assistance has been dispersed to all other districts in the city as our numbers continue to plummet, just in some sections of District 7, because in 2012 the lines were redistricted and the boundaries have expanded quite extensively. So there's not all pervasive poverty in District 7. Sometimes people think that I'm just the urban core girl, but I'm just as interested in the advances of the Jacksonville Aviation Authority and their pursuits into possibly bringing recreational space flights to Jacksonville. And I'm also interested in what's going on with the military as far as the USS Adams that's supposed to be coming here, a ship that's being built and it's going to be housed at Mayport. I'm equally interested in the families that now use the Wonderwood overpass and call Ocean Way home. We've got about 6,000 residents out there that have never met downtown Jacksonville. So we've got a lot of coming together to do in the district, and it's going to require that precincts have opportunities through community-based meetings to speak with the leadership that is representing that area, so that the leadership is completely aware of all of the issues that are impacting the district, not just those pervasive poverty level numbers and not just the infant mortality. Those are things that we do also need to work on simultaneously. We're going to have to do it like one big household.
Right. So when you are elected, what in your first 100 days, what will be your primary concerns?
My primary concern, again, is citizen engagement. So my first 100 days will be all about touching as many school organizations, community organizations, Pop Warner organizations, anybody that has a voice in the city, anyone that has a concern in the city, but may not have time to come down to City Hall or may not have the resources to pen a letter. It's time for a little bit of brushing up on one-on-one civics, where leadership is actually coming to the people and expressing to the people what their responsibilities should be, reestablishing some of the citizens' rights back to them, the Neighborhood Bill of Rights, which seems to be being overlooked by much of our current leadership because they have no problem telling you that sometimes we don't get back. It's against the law not to. So it's time to get people informed, it's time to get people empowered, and it's time to get people thinking forward and moving forward and understanding that we don't have to have any citizenship that is living in pervasive poverty.
Right. Well, before we close out this here, I'll ask you a couple of quick questions. You'll have a minute to answer. What I'm concerned about here is the participation of the community. How will you stimulate that where people will come down and let to City Hall because they need to come down and let their voices be heard too? That's a wonderful thing, going out to the community and have town hall centers and returning calls, which is very important. But don't you think the citizen has the obligation to come down and participate and be involved in the building of the city?
Absolutely. I'm not letting anybody off the hook. I am simply saying that 40 years of apathetic leadership has created an environment of citizen apathy that requires some delicacy. And so if that means getting citizens comfortable with coming to City Hall by bringing City Hall to them, I'm willing to do that as a leader.
Yes, and I think that's a good thing. We're closing out here. So, as the future City Council leader for District 7, what would you like to see overall for Jacksonville?
Overall, I would like for Jacksonville that these words have had some trepidation in the past, but it's time for us to heal some of those old wounds that we have. I was reminded very poignantly of the riots that we had in Jacksonville that led to the Civil Rights Act and therefore desegregation in Jacksonville. And still today we have so much racial disparity. And I watched as Ferguson, Missouri burned the other day, and I thought to myself, we have an obligation to show those people what they need to not do so that 40 years later they're not suffering from the choices that were made 3 nights ago as a result of no indictment. So the injustices continue, but we've got to get more organized and we've got to be more informed, and we have to participate in order to really regain balance within our communities so that we can ask for order from other communities.
Yes. Well, once again, I want to thank Niki Brunson for coming. And we appreciate it.
You're awesome.
We'll be coming back with some more information here. We'll be talking about healthcare prevention and building generational wealth. This is Stanley Scott with the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank on the Doc Show. Appreciate you.